Hey there, St. Peter's and friends of St. Peter's. This is Pastor Paul reaching out to you with a midweek message. It continues to be a gift to get to reach out to you in this way. I can hardly believe it's mid-August. We're staring September down, the fall season. Many of us have resumed or will soon resume schedules that are familiar to us, but will look very unfamiliar in the ways and rhythms that we are beginning them, routines like school and work schedules, whatever those might be. Who would have thought, when this whole pandemic began, that we would be looking and entering into the fall season, really leaning into, living into what feels like a new normal. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for the ways that you have been filled with grace and support and love and encouragement, the ways that you have extended arms and hands, the ways that you have extended prayers, the ways that you have extended words and gestures, emails and voicemails, the ways that you have extended your finances to partner when things feel uncertain, when things feel unknown. And yet you've still leaned into maybe ways that are perhaps new to you in giving financially, online giving, credit card giving, putting donations or your financial faith giving in the mail and trusting that it will get where it needs to be. Thank you. Thank you. We need your partnerships as much or more than ever. And we are grateful. I am grateful. I'm inspired by the ways that you continue to seek to be the church for such a time as this. It's only by the power of the Holy Spirit that I know that we are empowered to be the church for such a time as this. Our mission statement here at St. Peter's begins with those words, empowered by the Holy Spirit. Empowered by the Holy Spirit. And so what does it mean to be empowered by the Holy Spirit? In the 14th chapter of the Gospel of John, Jesus offers us a challenge. He offers us a promise. When he says these words, he says, "The Advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, will teach you everything and will remind you of all that I have said to you." With these words, what Jesus is telling his first disciples, and what he's telling us, his later disciples, is this. You don't need to know everything. In fact, you can't know everything yet. You have a lot to learn. You have much to learn. You and every generation that comes after you, you're going to have new questions. You're going to face complexities. You're going to have perplexities. Generations ago, people wrestled with the questions, is the earth flat or round? Other generations wrestled, with, and actually generations still wrestle with, how do we kind of integrate and intersect claims of science and claims of faith? Generations ago, and even some churches and communities today, wrestle with, should women who feel called by God be ordained to pastor and preach in the church? Thanks be to God that is not, something we wrestle with. We settled that in our denomination long ago. That all women and men are called to all ministries of the church in equal measure. And thanks be to God for that. And this generation, meaning the generation of church here and now, every one of us who claims to be a Christian, one of the questions that we're wrestling with that is very real and before us is, who are we? Who are we, and what is our identity as a church when a global pandemic keeps us from physically gathering together in ways that we've been used to gathering for generations? What are to be our priorities as a church, as a community of faith, in this new day, in what feels like this new normal? I think Jesus knew. And this is, part of the wonder that, the Bible is a book of faith. It's not a book of science. It speaks to things of science, but it's not a science book. It's a book of faith, and therefore it was written to people of faith about faith. And so I think Jesus knew that there were going to be some questions and questions of faith as they relate to all the other parts of life that the sacred texts, the sacred writings didn't address. And in fact, Jesus seems to acknowledge this with his disciples in this 14th chapter of John, because basically what he's saying to them is, the Spirit, the Holy Spirit of God will be your tutor and will guide you into all truth. The Holy Spirit of God will be your tutor and guide you into all truth. And you know what? The Spirit, the Holy Spirit of our living God, is still our tutor, guiding us into all truth. We are still surrounded and held by the Spirit of our living God that will indeed lead us into places of ministry and mission that we had no idea that we could go. If this were not true, then I will go on record as saying that there is no way, or very little way, the church would be able to survive this season of COVID-19. This time in which we are not able to open our buildings, open our campuses, and do church in the ways that we have always done it. These promises, the Spirit will be with us, will be our guide, will be our tutor, leading us into all truth. These promises are true for the church, for our church, for St. Peter's, and these promises are true in our own lives, in your life as well. The Spirit of our living God will lead us into creative and deeper ways of being faithful in our own lives that are difficult, sometimes very difficult, for us to imagine right now. The truth of these promises of God is why even I as your pastor can grow anxious. Yes, even I can grow anxious about our ability as church to make the kinds of adaptive changes that are necessary to not only just survive this moment, but also to find and identify ways of thriving in this moment and from this moment. Even when I struggle, and yes, I struggle. Even when I wrestle, yes, I wrestle. Even when I battle, yes, I battle. And can feel like there are more questions than there are answers right now. Even in the midst of these sort of trying times, trying moments, trying seasons, my witness to you, my testimony to you, is that I still experience this unexpected inner peace, this presence of the Holy Spirit that can only be a gift from God. A peace that tells me that we are going to figure this out. A peace that tells me and tells us that come what may, we are going to figure this out, that you, come what may in your life, you are going to figure this out with the presence and the guidance of the Holy Spirit. God is not done with us yet. As a people or as people. No matter what comes, we are all going to keep being a part of Christ's living body in this world. How does that old saying go? We may not know exactly what the future holds, but we do know the one who holds the future. And that one is the living, active, calling, challenging God that we know in Jesus Christ. And Jesus tells his first disciples, and he tells us that God's Spirit is going to keep guiding, keep teaching, keep reminding, and keep pushing us down paths we did not even know we could or that we needed to travel. And that's the truth. And oh, how the truth can set us free. Thank you for spending a few minutes with me. Imagining your faces and your smiles is a blessing to me, and what, quite honestly, many days keeps me keeping on. So let's keep on keeping on, trusting that God's Holy Spirit will be our tutor, our companion, and our guide. God bless you all.